bad because you that day you didn't do the show. Luckily, we had an interview to run. I was like, Brandon never does that.
I had to. I just couldn't go, man. It was. And I hate to do it. I was so mad too when I did it, but I was like, I just couldn't do it. So.
Yeah. Most humble work ethic person ever. My dad had a strong work ethic, but he always told me he was.
I'm working like a dog.
Yeah.
That's always the best. All right. Well, we got to get going. You go to these topics, Matt? Everyone go.
Oh, yeah. I read through it.
All right, Coté, whenever you're ready.
Well, before we start, did I ever go over my experiment of taking a bag?
No. Yeah, you said you were going to do it. I think I advised against it, and then you did.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, I don't think I ever followed up on my whole theory of like when I go on a trip, I want to just totally be like, I remember this. I heard this little vignette on KUT long ago. Remember when they used to do vignettes, like locals tell stories?
Oh yeah, I remember that. They had a bunch.
Yeah, they were awesome. And there was the one about like the neighbor who came to the fence was like, "Girl, do you need some squirrel? You know, to eat," like old hill country people. But I heard one where this person said, way back when I went to the airport and there was this big cowboy guy, and he just all he did is put his wallet and an unlit cigar in the X-ray tray, and that's all he had to go to a flight. And it was like Kinky Friedman. And ever since hearing that story, I was like, that is my goal for travel. I want to just like have nothing.
Smoke cigars.
Well, that would be a whole other fun realm there. But like, you instead of a cigar nowadays, it would be like you just put your phone and your wallet into the X-ray thing.
Yeah, that's not as cool as a cigar.
So as listeners, I agree. As listeners will recall, I've been trying to shuffle along that path, and I've been on 2 trips now. Since my mother's in town, we can go on little weekend trips, Kim and I. And we went to London, and then last weekend, the weekend before last, we went to Paris. And I executed. I took just to make Stephen O'Grady at Red Monk proud. I took the Patagonia MLC. I took my vintage 2006 edition, which is kind of still a wonderful bag. And then I took my newer, let's say 2012. I forget when it's from. The newer one, while not vintage and comfy feeling, sadly is much more functional. They obviously put a lot more thought into it. I've got thoughts on these 2 MLCs, but I'm not going to go over it. Now, in summary, Brandon, it worked out fine. Everything was great. There was one moment where I was like, it might be better to have a laptop, but then it passed. Everything was okay.
What was the official? You just took the phone and nothing else?
Yeah, I took the phone. Here's the gear that I had. Phone, and then a plug. And when you go to London, I mean, I have one of those square adapter, whatever that is, that like fits everywhere and has 4 USB old ones and 1 USB-C. And so, I took watch cord, phone cord, and 2 or 3 plugs, whatever, right?
And no iPad and no laptop.
And then just the iPhone, and that's it. I think I took the as I've gone over along that goofy. I have an iPhone 11 Pro, so I have that case, that battery case, and I took that. I
think the way we need Friedman must be proud.
I want to measure this a little slightly different. It's like, I think what you did makes sense. It's sort of like happy path. It's like, that's going to work perfectly 90% of the time. Because I was recently on vacation in July, and like, I actually ended up taking a bunch of stuff that I really didn't need. But I'll tell you this, so anxiety level low, because like I just had it all. Like it was kind of a pain to carry and go through security, but I just left it there. So while I never actually needed it, like the work laptop, I would say my anxiety level was a little bit lower. So therefore my vacation was like maybe slightly more enjoyable. So did you have any moment, like you mentioned it, like was there a little bit of anxiety, like, ooh, what if that work thing happens? Like, what if I gotta like edit the slide?
Yeah.
Or I gotta
no. Like I'm trying to remember where. Oh, well, okay. I had to do this expat thing with my bank, which was kind of annoying, but it all worked out fine. And I don't think that was even stressful. This is vacation stress. The one time that I wanted a laptop is Kim was like, "Hey, we should watch a movie." And oh, you don't have your laptop, like, because we're not going to watch the dumbass hotel movie, right? And
that's just vacation stuff. That's not like
right. No,
But
but
I bring my laptop so
that
we
was
can
it.
yeah, we watch stuff on my laptop.
Well, here's a pro tip. I bring the Apple TV everywhere now. So like that's probably, I don't know where that, like, maybe that's too much tech for you, but it's like, that's super small.
No, I think
that's not gonna fit your pocket.
I do that a lot. I have done that quite a bit. I used to do that before all the TVs and Airbnbs would just have Netflix and Disney on them. However, I remember when I was in Texas the last time I brought, is this true? I think I did bring the Apple TV, and it was so nice. You just like plug it in and add it to the Wi-Fi. I don't think you even have to do that. You just have your phone next to it, and then it's just like,
it makes habit.
Oh, it's all here.
You don't have to log into all the systems, and it works, and everybody knows how to use it. Yeah,
that's a good point. That's what I need to do next, because it is like, even, I don't know. I mean, I read people's weblogs about what they do, their week notes and day notes, and everyone still does this. Like, if you go on a vacation and you're in this nice hotel room with like good AC and crisp sheets, at least one night you're going to be like, let's just watch the fuck out of some TV in here. This is great.
Sit down, get real nice and cold. Yeah, good.
Yeah,
I like it.
So what that's going to entail, though, is you're going to need an Apple TV. Of course, you got to bring the power cord, which thankfully is like universal power cord,
and an HDMI.
And then an HDMI cable, and then you got to monkey around in the back of the TV, but that's all fine. That usually works out well. Okay, there you go.
Okay, as we wrap the subject down, Coté, the final thing I need to know for you. So this was a Friday through Sunday trip to nail down the vacation, right?
It was early Saturday morning, and we left late Monday night, but more or less.
Okay.
Yes.
So my question then is, how many more days could you have gone without the laptop? Like if it was like a 4-day trip, 5 days.
I mean, if I didn't need to, if I don't need to work, I mean, I feel like a long time. Like,
so you're gonna go like a full 7-day vacation. You're like, I'm not bringing the laptop.
Totally. I think I could do it, and I think, if Substack didn't have such a shitty like interface that doesn't work on a phone, I could even like do some little like newsletter writing on it. But I mean, this is like, I've worked really hard unintentionally over the years. Like, the only reason I need my laptop is for like slides and recording what we're doing right now. Like, and just that, because it's nicer, right? Like, I mean, basically the analogy is like, I decided for 7 days I would just eat like sandwiches instead of making a Thanksgiving dinner for every meal, right? And so, but like, I got a Thanksgiving dinner.
It's just like I said, maybe it's just like unfounded anxiety. It's just the like, oh, like I forgot to send such and such to so and so.
No, exactly.
Or like, I just, for whatever reason, I was the one that made the last edits on this thing and I didn't upload it. And like, just answering the quick email and just being like, oh, I can get that done. I can just get back to vacation.
Totally. Now I have gotten close to that. There was a time, maybe this is right before COVID, I think, where I was trying to only travel with my iPad, right? Which is a step between what we're talking about here. And so what I would have to do is I would have to make sure my presentations, like, I wouldn't really need to edit them, because I've never really gotten into Google Slides. Like, if you're in Google, you can do presentations in a way where like editing them is easy because they're not ornate. Right. They're not like you've DIY built a Kubernetes cloud native platform.
Right. They're just the standard templates or something. Yeah. Sure.
Right. And so I could kind of, there was a couple of trips where I didn't take my laptop and I had my iPad, and that worked all the way to connecting it up to like give a presentation. Right. And the next step is, I feel like I could just take my phone on a work thing. Right. If like, I have a couple of just 1-day trips every now and then. Right. And I should, like, if it's one of these presentations, which don't tell the conference organizers, I've given like, 30 times, right? Like, maybe I should just take my iPhone, and then I just need the adapter to like plug it in. And that would be the dream. Like, I just walk up to the podium with nothing. I just get my phone in my pocket and like plug it in there. And all I'm doing is just like tapping the phone every now and then. That whole situation is not too good, though.
You're truly professional if you're managing to walk up there, no presentation, it's completely loaded, and you just like, I'm ready to go. That's the pinnacle of professional speaker lifestyle. So I hope one day you make it.
Yeah. I mean, I I mean, I'm definitely a professional speaker. No doubt there. I think the other trick would be to just have no slides. I got to do that. Just go up there and
Have you
pace
done it?
around.
That's I don't know. It's I'm you got to know your material, man. You got to that's something you got to take on a road. That's like you got to be the stand-up comic who's like really performed their routine hundreds of times and like has it down. I think that's
yeah.
I don't know. It's rarely done in tech. I would say almost. I don't know.
Kind of never. Even Bruce Sterling has like 3 slides per presentation, and he's the master of like of the people I have watched a lot. He's the master of just the lecture.
That's good luck. Maybe that's something we throw out to listeners. Send us a YouTube video or some other recording of somebody giving a tech presentation with no slides. I'd like to see it, and then we can rate it and critique it.
I think it would be possible. Yeah, it would be nicer too. You wouldn't see all those stupid animated GIFs that people feel like they need to use. Just
don't you think Andrew could pull that off?
Well, that's probably, although he's so deeply ingrained the 200 word slide presentation with like multiple words on it. Like he has one. My favorite thing in Schaefer's like shtick or his routine nowadays is he has a slide that's like, what people say they want, and he has all the illities, reliability, blah blah blah, and then the last 2 is where the joke comes in, and he's like, and they want it all for free without changing. And then he has like, there's like a series of 10 more slides where without changing gets progressively bigger. And like, that's a good use of slides. Like it kind of makes the joke.
That's a good one. Like you could see it'd be a good challenge for him to be like, hey, just do the same material, but no slides, where it's like I think it would have to start with a story, right? He'd be like, yeah, so this company wanted, and then you'd have to figure out how to sail the illities like quickly in like an interesting way.
Yeah. You can definitely do that.
Like it would just take more work, but it'd be more interesting because
and I think you could use some stand-up comic like technique. Instead of having the without changing like grow over 10 slides, you would just make like 2 callbacks to it. Like, and that way you emphasize with a callback, like, 3 minutes, then maybe 10 minutes in, you make an emphasis of the without changing. You
I think
for
sure that's the kicker of that presentation. At the very end, his final line is something like, so now I invite you, right, to go do this, and not,
without changing anything.
Without changing.
Essentially, but I think you could drop the closing slide, and you could get away with 2 slides, just going back and forth. This is what you want without changing.
No, I want no slides. That's what I want to see. I want someone.
Well, because he's also the guy who did the DevOps karaoke. Like a couple of the DevOps days where he'd throw up slides and you had no idea what was coming up, and so you'd riff on like the next 5 slides.
Yeah, do they do those still? Those were fun.
I haven't done those in a while, but yeah, they were fun to do.
I got sort of pushed on the stage in Kansas City to do one of those, and I have to say, I was there giving it. It was pretty awesome. Like,
were you the MC, or you actually had to riff over your 5 slides?
I was giving it. It was it was good.
I remember doing one, and I thought I'll
have to find that video. That was I referenced this last time. That was when I was flying from Riga, Latvia, and missed a flight in Berlin, so my luggage got lost, and I had to wear the conference T-shirt.
Oh, I bet you can never see Coté.
But isn't DevOps Care? It's really just more open mic, which is kind of what we're getting at. Like I think the slide, I guess, is just sort of like a reason to talk. But I think it'd be more interesting. It's like no, just walk up. Like you got to talk for 5 minutes. Like, what do you got? Like no slide, no prompt.
I would love to do that. I mean, I don't know if you can tell from the decades of podcasting I've been doing, but just showing up and talking, totally fine. That's great.
Maybe that should be the next thing. Instead of DevOps karaoke, just DevOps 5-minute podcast. And then whoever has the event could string them all together and let people hear it. Be like, okay, here you go. I like it.
That's good. Well, one of the topics that would probably be good this year and next year is we could have what the fuck's up with open source norms nowadays. I think that might be. I think
you know me too well.
That would be a great sort of thing, because I think this is one of our favorite topics. I apologize for referring to the show for like the 3rd time already here, but like it is. I think. I don't know. I don't want to be too. I don't want to light up that cigar. But I think we've kind of been sort of like offspring, kind of predicting this sort of slide from the orthodoxy of open source into the I think the Overton window of open source has shifted to some extent, right? Like, I think people just like, it's only like old crotchety people who are like, remember when you would want the code freely?
I'm that guy because I'm the guy who's like, guys, open core has bad connotations for people like me with a lot of gray in their beard, right? It's like, we don't want, that's not a good thing. Don't say that. Yeah.
And so I think the most, I wrote about this in my newsletter, which if you're not subscribed to it, you can go to newsletter.cote.io, subscribe. It's a great newsletter. I know because I'm there. I've read every episode several times. See if I can use that joke one more time. It seems like there's been all sorts of things happening. We started off a couple of years ago with Amazon being like, I really like that open source project and I don't want to give the startup that runs it money. So I'll just take that code. Thank you. And then even before that, you had Oracle, who was like, ooh, love that Red Hat Linux. How about we call it Unbreakable Linux? And I don't give Red Hat money. So that worked out well. Was a thing, and on and on and on. And I think most recently, like what I think has gotten me to think about this is the oddly enough, like all the AI stuff where you have open AI, which is not really open at all. Right. And then great product, not open. And then you have, I guess it was the llama thing, the Facebook thing, which I don't think I forget if they called it open source, but it's
they called it open source. They totally tried. They tried that, and then people were like, "Hey, what's this fine print?" And they zoom in on the 6 point.
I remember when I wrote this in the newsletter, I got it. Is this an order of magnitude? I said if you have 700,000 active monthly users, you can't use it, but it's 700 million. Yes, yeah. I lost some zeros there.
Sorry, you need to let me correct your newsletters before they go out.
That would be great. That would be great. But it does seem like I think that was I think that's the final thing that kind of like has brought me over to like the norms have shifted, because like the 700 million thing is it's basically like it's open except for those 4 companies.
Exactly.
Right. Like and which is, and I think what's interesting is, whether or not that's like in the spirit of whatever, it's more interesting to think about like, well, do we care? Right. And
Salman's spinning in his grave. He does not like that. Right.
Yeah. No, totally. Wait, is he dead?
No.
Oh. And I know, actually, Cory Doctorow like wrote something kind of about this a little bit. And I was reading and I was like, man, what the fuck does this guy like? Like, I follow him in Flickr and I know he loves the fuck out of Disneyland. Like he made a tiki bar in his house and he goes there all the time. Yeah. So like,
he loves it, but he's also its biggest critic.
Like he loves Disneyland. He goes there all the goddamn time. But like, so there's something weird happening there. But like, yeah. So I think, and then Matt Assay, he wrote up basically this position here. I think that like, yeah, it's time to cool it with the open source zealotry and orthodoxy. Like it's not, open source isn't dead, but open source has shifted, right? Like what it means, he's suggesting is
I'm still very much on the other side though. Because the problem is, even with something cool like Llama 2, it's like, this is cool. We can go and use it, because I work at a small company and we can embed it in our products, and we're not going to hit 700 million users, but the problem is nobody can take from it. Nobody can say like, hey, I learned a lot from this Llama 2. I'm going to go start my own project, because what they've done is create like a new viral license that says, once you can't like say, well, you know what, I'm going to fork this and take those bits off, right? You can't just, unfuck someone's license. So like nobody can take this and say, I'm going to go write Llama 3 and take some of the stuff out of that, because it's got a lot of good ideas and I want to take that code and move it somewhere else. This code is a dead end.
Right. I mean, if you have that cap,
nobody can take it.
Maybe this
you have the IP infection thing where like if you
were this is a viral license.
Yeah. What did they used to call that? White room implemented? Like white room.
Like a clean room.
Clean room reverse engineered. Yeah.
Right.
Right, but like I think this is a part like where we can really dive in on Matt Assay's article there. It's like, so very few people are going to do that, what you just said there, Matt. And it's like, and I think this is where I think this is where Matt Assay was coming from. And it did kind of resonate with me. It's just sort of like, what people really just want, like unfettered access so they can use the thing.
That's right.
And do what they want. And so it's like, it's going to work for most people. Like most people were not going to fork
Most
it.
people are users. Yeah. I mean, most people don't care that it's open source at all. Most people never cared that Linux was open source.
Yeah. And I think what they all care about is like, I can use like, for whatever they want to do is like, I can get it quick. I can use it and my company will let me, you know what I mean? Like I can use it without having those things. So obviously that's not open source, but like whatever you want to call that, that does seem to be the biggest benefit, right? And like for a long time, open source was a shortcut way to just know that was possible. So I kind of think back to this thing. It's like, everything you said was true, Matt, but it's also in some ways, like maybe it's more restrictive, but it's also more honest where it's just like, hey, listen, we've decided to make this free so everyone can use it, but no, you cannot go build something new on it. And, that's the company sort of reserving its right to like do something later with it and kind of minimize the opportunities for you to make money on it, which in so many of these open source companies that didn't change the license, that's kind of what they're doing, right? In a less honest way. So that's why I almost think like declaring your intentions up front, just saying like, we just want to make it really easy for everyone to use. And this version is free to use, but we do not want to see new businesses. We do not want you to take this and create a new business. We're going to prevent that. Then like, okay, fair enough. At least you're honest and you're clear about your intentions.
But the value of it is greatly diminished because, just heads up, Microsoft and Amazon and Apple and others have, ridiculous numbers of AI engineers on staff who aren't going to look at this, aren't going to help make it better. And so it's a dead end as far as like, science goes, because with Facebook open sourcing this and not letting anybody with any sizable staff look at it, it's a Facebook project. So, you can call it, you can say, oh, it's open source. You can call it source available. You can do whatever you want. This is no different from any of those other BSL licenses. Facebook doesn't want other contributors to this project. I mean, that's what you say when you do this.
But I also think,
and I think you're right. Some people are okay with that.
Feature and a bug, right? You know what I'm saying? Yes. The feature is like, listen, hey, I want everyone to have access to it. You can use it. That's what it is. And just what you said, like if your goal was to be a researcher and add things to it, this is not the project.
Yeah. But so what's the point of open source?
You want something easy to use that you can download. And even I've seen some, I've not done it. People said you can run it on your laptop and like you want to try it out. This is what it's there for. And again, I just think the honesty thing is like, I think that is actually better than being like, we make it open source and we kind of come out with these ideals and then we change the license later on because we feel like there's an opportunity to make money. So it's
but it actually didn't start as honest. They're like, hey, we open source this. And then people like, 2 days later had finished, reading the license. And then they're like, wait, this is not open source. Quit calling it that. And Microsoft's like, yeah, sure.
I think this should almost be in like a new word or whatever phrase for
source available. We got plenty of licenses for that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm just saying like, freely available. You can use it. No, it's not open source. And I think if more people just said that and just were like, that's it. And especially the companies that don't have that they do not know how they're going to make money. They are open source and they are venture backed. Like if you come to me with those 3 things, I'm a venture backed open source company and I'm not making any money and I am unsure of my business model. I'm going to tell you, I don't think you're an open source company. I think down the road, you are going to be pressured into making lots of decisions and we're going to be right back here at the beginning of this conversation. And you're going to have to walk back so many of the things you said before. So that would be like kind of my challenge to everyone is like, okay, if you really say it, then like, put it in a foundation. You know what I mean? Like put it in the foundation and lock yourself away from it. And if you haven't done that, then you're not quote unquote open source either.
No argument.
Yeah. I mean, I think the word that Matt Assay was using was people want access, right? They want to be able to use it and have access to it, which I think is, I think that's, we just kind of saw, I think what the shift in the norms are is like our generation of developers like Matt, like we open source and access are kind of like the same thing. Like the same thing is the wrong way of putting it, but like open source just matters.
Yeah. I mean,
right.
That's why they call it free as in beer.
Right.
It's like I got plenty of beer.
Whereas I think what y'all were just going over, right? Like, it's almost. I mean, it's almost, maybe this wasn't the case, but it's almost, if this wasn't the case with the llama stuff being called open source, being slightly some shenanigans, sometime soon the executives at some company or product people are going to call something open source and be very genuine about it, even though it's not, because they'll just be like, oh, I thought that's what open source was, right? Just because like that, what we thought was this institutionalized memory in our nerd culture has just sort of like
that's me having to explain open core, right? Having to re-explain it to the kids these days. I'm like, no, you don't. That's not a feature. That's a bug.
Exactly.
Right?
And so like that mind virus hasn't it hasn't like become part of what it is to be, do programming. Like, you do have to relearn the what is it, the 4 networking rules or whatever, like every generation, but like it's persisted, it stays there. Whereas like eventually maybe this open source thing like is not really going to be as everyone knows garbage in, garbage out, right? Like you don't have to explain that. Like, and so like, but at some point it seems like the what is open source is becoming very fluid outside of the boundaries of the orthodoxy.
I think to that part though, I think the part that is interesting, and maybe this is like too meta, but it's almost like when you look at any type of thing that's been declared open source, it's almost like you want to look further into the motivations of the underlying people. And like I said before, like the purest form is this is open source. We put it in a foundation. The foundation has at least a few people, is that like parity, that are not directly, the creators. And it's in a way, the stewardship, you think it's clear it's going to be open for a long period of time, because that would be like the purest form, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one, the part that I deeply question, like I was going back to before, was just sort of like, we're a new company, we're going to make it open source, we're not trying to make money. And I would say they're just using that as a way to, if you will, gain adoption of this new
Totally,
right?
Absolutely.
And because they don't, and so it's like that case, it's like in some ways it's such a bad idea because it sort of hides the real work. It's like you're just giving away something for free and you haven't necessarily had to go validate that someone will eventually pay for something, right? So when you do that up front, it's like you're kind of like cheating. It would almost be like, as we kind of make fun of like venture capitalists subsidizing like Uber rides. It's like, sure, like we'll all take free Uber rides, but that doesn't mean there's a demand, right? And the same thing there. So I don't know. So that's the challenge, I guess. It's like, if you go into it with that idea and you're just kind of using it as sort of like a way to get adoption, then very questionable whether or not it will ever come.
And I think I mean so this is the second area that was interesting. That's always interesting to me of all this is like, if you separate out open source as Matt Ray was starting to do from like the users of open source to like the builders, like the producers, let's just call them vendors, right? Like it is.
It's mostly vendors, yes.
Yeah. Like and
but
by
also
vendors,
researchers and scientists. I mean, that's the part about the AI angle. I'm like, nobody will touch this.
Yeah. And also by vendor, of course, I mean public cloud companies and stuff like that. But like it is, the thing I was trying to sort out in my head is like how it's really, there are certain types of software, like most of the types of software we talk a lot about, that it's hard to get adoption if it's not open source. And it's equally hard, as you were kind of alluding to, Brandon, of like getting feedback about if you're doing a good job or not. But then I think that's where this idea of access kind of sort of solves that problem, maybe, of like, it's not about it being open source. It's about like releasing your infrastructure-y stuff early, and just instead of waiting a year to release it, and also just having it like free to use in whichever scenarios. And that's almost the area that, well, SaaS companies have figured this out, so it's not a completely lost art, but like you've got to figure out basically what your free tier is. Like
premium.
If you're not going to have open source anymore as a core part of how you do your software or your services as a vendor, then you have to put a lot of thought into like, well, if you have less than 700 million active users a month, it can be free, which which is like, I mean, it is worth thinking about that, because even when it was 700,000 in my head, that basically means that like
that excludes a lot. Yeah, I mean,
it does, but it also means that like IBM could take it and build an AI thing for JP Morgan Chase,
right?
And that would be fine, because I don't think JP Morgan Chase only has 350,000 employees, so they'll never have more than 700,000 active users a month. Right now,
just don't point it at their customers. Right?
If they used it for their customers, that could be a whole other thing. However, the Navy Federal Credit Union probably doesn't have 700 million customers, so they could use it, and JPMC probably doesn't have 700 million monthly customers.
I like that you're going for it here, and I do think maybe this is like another variation of this whole thing, is about like just using the license or something else to like literally just declare your target customer, right? So maybe we go back to the Red Hat thing, right? It's like in the case of Red Hat, like I don't know exactly what's going on there, but like I think, you know, Red Hat is frustrated by like the sales force, right? They've got like whatever 50,000 machines and they're not paying anything. But I don't think Red Hat is like cares at all about, you know, those very small, you know, Shopify. So it's like, you know, you almost envision something more like, listen, if you have less, like your company is less than this amount of revenue, or you have some tier. It's like,
you must be this tall to be a customer.
Yeah. Like, or you know, or you have to do this, or we can use the cloud thing. It's like, listen, we're a SaaS-based business. We're going to make this open source because frankly, we don't want to be in the enterprise. So if you want it in the enterprise, go use it, but you're prohibited from making your own SaaS. Fine. You know, it's sort of like if you've done the thinking and you've like, this is where we want, because you're just telling people like, we're going to make money here. Over here, we think it's fine. In fact, we want you to use it because it's probably a little bit of lead gen. Maybe we get some commits, and and it's frankly a market we're never going to talk to anyway. So it's better for them to use our thing.
Too much to support. Yeah.
So I think, you know, again, like having that conversation is totally fine, because I do think what you're saying, going back to what you said earlier, Coté, you said like, well, you know, not doing open source is sort of like, you know, it's hard to get traction if you don't do it in our industry. I would almost say like, no, that's actually a really good indicator that maybe the thing you're doing isn't going to be at least venture back fundable company, right? If like you can't convince anybody they're not going to touch it unless it's open source and free, it's like, yeah, you may not have a good idea.
Like you were saying, like you if it's free, you're not collecting feedback about you're not collecting enough feedback about the value of it, right? You can't really do an ROI analysis if something is free. It's just like, well, there was no investment, so it's all profit. I mean, you know, whatever aside, but like it makes the pricing stuff, you know, and and as you're going through that, I was also realizing, I mean, what America has like 350 million people probably now, so like America could also use Llama for free, like, and they, you know, like basically, I mean, you have to be like you've got to be like Google or Apple.
Right, which is kind of the point, right? Which is
and 700 million also like cut off Twitter at its peak. You know, they never crossed that. So why such a low?
I guess
a low number. Yeah,
it would be like China and India the governments couldn't use it, right? But they probably have less than 700 million active users a month, right? Like even like I wonder, like, I guess probably the most active users a month the federal government has is filing taxes, right? And so like even that population isn't all taxable people. Anyways, now I'm giving a presentation without slides that is fucking boring.
But I think regardless, it doesn't matter. I think it's just like, it's clear. It's like, whatever, call it the 5 largest internet-based companies, right? That's what Facebook is saying. It's like, no, you cannot use it. Everyone else can, right? I mean, that's
It's almost like it seems like the Coreys of the world would be like, oh wait, these are the companies that I fucking hate. So that's great. Let's have open source except people I hate. Like, you know, it's like it's using licensing for like antitrust stuff or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but now
on this on the Llama thing, just because I think it does make sense. It's like, I mean, I think your points are well taken, man. It's like, yeah, like, okay, it's a dead end. People can't use it. But like, this is where like there is like sort of like a, I don't know, a market answer. It's like, well, listen, if that's what people want, there will be an open source version. And then people, you know what, if that's what people really want to use, people will gravitate to that, and Llama or whatever will fall way behind. So it's like, it does kind of work. In this case, I feel like it will work itself out, right? And I actually I guess I just think this is like a core thing. It's like, I just wish like there's just more upfront, direct honesty. Like, and I think it would just prevent so much downstream frustration. I know, Matt, I know you and I have lived this, and I think you live this all the time. It's like the worst scenario to be in is like you've got some successful open source project and you're sitting with people trying to make money and everyone's debating like which things should be withheld, right? Or which features should become like open core and what should people pay for? Because I always feel like when you're in this kind of meeting, like everything has been lost. Like no one will be happy. The company won't make money. The open source project will kind of fail or flail around, and there'll just be a lot of frustration. So like to me, like do the thinking up front, save yourself the hassle down the road.
As always, I think that's one of your top 3 career trauma moments that you just described there.
I think that's the good way to say it. I mean, just months and months and months of conversations, and especially too with just like smart people that are just endlessly opinionated and you can never, like, I'm talking about founders, CEOs, CTOs that just like you never reconcile these decisions, right? It's just like, you know what you should do if you find yourself you're in that meeting and you are not the one that can make the decisions, you should leave that job. That's what I would recommend. That would leave, turn around and leave.
Yeah. We need access source.
That, and also if somebody that's a founder or a venture capitalist for the company says, you know what we should do? We should build some kind of app store. You should immediately turn in your resignation and leave that company as well. That's another
yeah.
Just leave. Like,
I haven't.
I got to go to somewhere else because they just gave me an unbelievable offer. It doesn't include building an app store. I will be leaving now.
I haven't fully developed that, but I think you're right. The way I think about it is like once the word marketplace shows up on the architecture, things have gone wrong. Like there should never be something called a market or a marketplace in enterprise software. It's just not going to. You can call it plugins or add-ons, whatever you want, but not marketplace.
A marketplace.
That's not good.
Marketplace.
Don't want that. Well, speaking of marketplaces, you're doing some back of the envelope calculations, and it looks like we're on the path to a $1 trillion public cloud market, Brandon. Is that how long is it going to take for us to climb there?
Well, this is our long running conversation. As all the cloud vendors say, it's we're in the early innings. But I always like to say, well, where exactly are we in the early innings? So let's just to take the scoreboard here is AWS 89 billion run rate, 12% year-over-year growth. Microsoft $63 billion run rate. Their estimated growth is 27% year over year. Of course, Microsoft's kind of weird how they report their numbers. GCP $32 billion, also kind of weird because they include other stuff, and 28% year over year. So I just like add all that together and say like, add all the other cloud vendors in there. It's about $200 billion annual run rate being spent here. And so I always say like, early innings. So I would say we're 20% of the way to the $1 trillion number I kind of threw out as sort of like, this is what I watch. Like, could we get there?
Yeah, that's good.
At about 10 years. So about a 10 years around like a 22% growth rate, depending on how you calculated, that would get us to 1 trillion. So I think, things seem like pretty good. I mean, again, like this is always like the boring stuff to say. It's like, there was that period where like everything was ending and it was like, oh, it's everything is bad, but it's like all these growth rates are pretty healthy. I mean, Amazon is so big, so we always have to kind of grade them on this curve, right? $89 billion and still growing is pretty good. So I just kind of look at it like, yeah, cloud market's going well. I think we're 20% of the way to the 1 trillion. And
would you say we're in the second inning?
Yeah, I'd say we're like second or third inning, and I think it'll take us probably about 10 years, and there'll be plenty of ups and downs. And I guess the real question is, does anyone come out of the pack? Whether it be Oracle or some unknown vendor to like, because that's kind of what we're just looking at this point. It's the 3-horse race. I don't know who it would be if I did know. I mean, sometimes when I was at Cloudflare, sometimes people think that's sort of like a weird dark horse. Not weird. I shouldn't say weird, just sort of like off the radar dark horse. Weird. So who can anyone kind of get in here and make it a four person race or 4-company race? That would be interesting. Yeah. But other than that, though, I think it's like I actually think things are pretty good, which is maybe an unpopular statement. It's like, cloud stuff. Cloud, it seems like it's
some hard-hitting financial analysis. I think things are pretty good.
I mean, it kind of is, though, but I do think like there was
come to software-defined talk for this, and that's fine.
I don't know. I guess I'll have to go back and say, I don't know what we were calling for. Like when everyone was saying there was a recession, I don't know what we exactly said. I think I hope we expressed some like, well, that could happen, maybe not.
We had pithy analysis.
Yeah, because now it's like, well, I was listening to a podcast where it's like, well, all the economists were wrong. So there was no recession. It looks like everything's going to be fine, which just means we don't really know what's going to cause the next big recession. That's all it really means. There's going to be some catastrophic thing none of us know. But I do like to just look at this like, yeah, things are fine. Things are good. Let's just what do you say, Coté? It's like, hey, QBR should be good. Everyone should be good. Go to the happy hours afterwards, enjoy it. Even expense a few drinks. Everyone will be okay with that.
Yeah. Just chill the fuck out. It's okay. Like we'll be cool. I think, I'm not a big sports person, as you know, but I feel like 20% into any game is the perfect time for a pee break. That's when you
because I mean,
first quarter is almost over. Maybe that's the way you say it. First quarter of the game's over.
You're gonna make it all the way to the end. Don't go into overtime.
That's right. Well, speaking of making it all the way to the end, do we have any bureaucracy, Brandon?
We do. A couple things I want to say. One, I want to thank Daniel for reminding me that we have sent stickers to Paris. So, in fact, I sent them to Daniel. So I appreciate him reminding me. And he said, "I think
you forgot about me."
That's right. And okay, he said he may see you at an upcoming conference or something. So maybe you'll give him some more stickers. So my apologies. But now that we've dominated Paris, trying to think of some other French cities that we need, like Grenoble, Lyon. Like we need
Marseille.
We need to branch out into the countryside of France. So someone from another
it's not France, but have we done Monaco? I mean, we need that French Riviera action. Yeah.
See, now I'm afraid to say anything without checking my email.
Have we done the tiny countries? Has the Pope ordered stickers?
Tiny countries.
I don't know. Luxembourg. I think we got a Luxembourg in there.
Yeah, I feel like we have. Definitely
on Monaco. I don't think there's a lot of cloud in Monaco. From what I can see on there's
a lot of money there.
When the Formula One, I see like a lot of beautiful yachts. Maybe someone's running some clouds on the yachts. So thanks. Thanks.
Go
ahead.
I was gonna say, I think I remember in French, you can, if you want to apologize, you can say "Je suis désolé." Like, that's my fault.
I think we're definitely getting emails about that. I don't know. I think it's pretty good. Maybe
Je suis désolé.
Let me make sure that's what it means.
I think we just said we're all salads or something.
There is nothing the French like more than Americans speaking French. I know that for a fact. They just really appreciate us slaughtering.
They like that you try. They appreciate the effort. They give a lot of A's for effort over there.
Yeah, it's I'm sorry. Je suis désolé. That's a phrase I would learn if I had a demanding French teacher in high school.
Speaking of A for effort, also want to recognize Jamie. I sent him some stickers in Georgia, and also JD posted a job in the jobs channels for a cloud engineer. So what's what you should do? You should go to the Slack. You should join that. You should join the jobs channel, and then you should just direct message JD, and he'll tell you why it's the job.
Especially if they're trying to make you start up a marketplace.
Yes. Yes.
Good callback.
Rule. If anyone in the jobs channel posted someone, I'm looking for someone to start a marketplace or an app store, automatically delete that job. Like, no. I will not allow any software-defined talk listener to apply for that.
Well, we have there's a lot of conferences, but for time I'm not going to go over all of them. But if you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/427, it's you can tell it's conference season. There's a ton of them, and I actually decided I was going to go finally after 10 years or so. I'm going to go to the Monktoberfest, the Red Monk conference.
Oh, there
we'll see. Go. I sent in 3 possible talks, and I feel like they probably know me, so they know like the kind of talks I would give. We'll see if they accept one of them. Otherwise, I'll just be sitting in the background.
It would be so funny if they reject you. That would even be funnier. We're gonna do a whole episode with Steve O'Grady if you're rejected. That'd be fantastic.
I could see that they could be full and whatever, but like we'll see.
Oh, come on, Coté. If you can't get into that, then there's gonna be.
Did you leave on good terms?
There's gonna be an internet war started over this. But go on.
Yeah. Anyways, so I'll be there, and there's other conferences. Matt Ray is going to be doing lots of travel, but go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/427, and you can check that out. I'll just say one thing. Our Spring 1 VMware Explore conference is at the end of the month, August 21st and 24th. If you haven't decided to go or not, you should go. It'll be fun. I'm doing the MC script for Spring 1. So there's, I think I worked a pet clinic joke in there for you Spring people.
Isn't it a pet store, not a pet clinic?
I thought it was a pet store, but I had the VP of whatever of Spring on like one of the calls, and they're like, "Oh, that was a great joke, but it's a pet clinic." And I was like, "Oh, huh. I think the pet store is the Sun J2EE thing, and then Spring made it a pet clinic." I don't know. I didn't research enough.
And they got a whole VP in charge of spring demos.
Well, I don't want to reveal what's there, but you whatever. Yes, you should come. That's all I'm saying. Go to spring1.io and you can check it out. And following my recommendation, my pre-recommendation of a conference, what do you have to recommend this episode, Matt Ray?
Well, towards the beginning of the show, I spilled a glass of juice on my Microsoft Sculpt ergonomic keyboard, so I'm going to be buying another one of those probably, unless rinsing that thing off worked.
We're going to hit that $1 trillion TAM sooner than Brandon thinks.
I'm here for you, Microsoft. I'm keeping you afloat.
I'm updating the model. Go ahead.
I think they've actually stopped making those keyboards. So that's what I'm starting to find.
Model.
So besides that, when I recently got myself a cordless rechargeable water pick, which is like, I kind of hate flossing, but you got to floss. This thing, like, you hold it and it blasts water through your teeth. It's kind of fun. So, and of course I shopped for like 4 or 5 heads thinking, oh, the whole family uses it, but it like water's going down your hand. It's like, it's disgusting, but it's kind of fun and it beats flossing. So, that's my pick.
I bet it'll clean a toilet bowl real well too.
I bet it would. Yeah. But then you wouldn't want to stick it back in your mouth.
It's like a handheld pressure washer.
Exactly. It's awesome.
Huh. Well, how about yourself, Brandon?
Wow. Well, I'm going to continue on Matt's. I don't know. This is definitely an old man podcast right here this week. So Matt's got the water pick. So stay with me here, because based on our demographics, 1.5 people are about to be interested in this recommendation. So long story short, I have this eye problem called keratoconus. I have to wear these specialty contacts. My eye doctor recently retired, and I was like, man, I need to get another one. And I actually took some time to find somebody that specialized in this. And so they fitted me with scleral contact lenses, which are these crazy big RGP lenses that like fit over the, if you will, the colors of your eyes. So they basically attach to the white ones. And it has been life-changing. In fact, if you watch the stream in the past, you would have probably seen me wear some like readers, some glasses, and I do not need those anymore. So absolutely life-changing if you are somebody that either suffers from that problem or other weird cornea diseases and you have not ever heard of this. Like I hadn't. I don't know. I was so disappointed in my old doctor. I almost want to go back and demand refunds or something like that.
I was like, unretire him so you could fire him.
I did. It was kind of like, you don't quit me, I'm quitting you kind of thing. So it's been incredible though. So like I said, there are probably 1.5 people that actually care about this. So here's what I put in there. I put in a link to those. I put in a link to some doctors that specialize in keratoconus, and there's a little map here. So maybe you can find one that's close to the United States. And I would actually say, if you do have to wear these specialty contacts, finding someone that knows them, how to fit those contacts is fantastic. So check all that out. Now for everyone else, 2 other quick recommendations. One, my AirPods Pro, I don't know, they were just getting bad. So I upgraded to the AirPods Pro 2nd generation. I'm giving it the official, it's fine. Really like them. So just, check that out if you're looking for new AirPods. And finally, just for you, Coté, there's a whole episode on KUT that explains why is Lala's Little Nugget in Austin always decorated for Christmas. So if you live in Austin or you've ever been to Lala's, you can hear the story of why it's decorated for Christmas. So check all of those things out.
Man, I every time I see it, I'm still surprised that place is still there. But it's gotten over the hump. It's never going to die.
It got bought out. It's actually its own thing now. So listen, check it out.
Yeah, all the smoke in the walls is just going to hold it up forever.
Floodberry.
Fine. You got it, Brandon. Sounds like since it goes to the white of your eyes, you can get goat eyes now. Do they do designer contacts so you can change, have whatever you want?
Some of those
like,
good omen
get like different tints. On these kind of contacts, you could. So I'm sure I don't have those, but yes, I'm sure you can.
Well, maybe I'll go
in the boardroom.
I'll go look at the doctor's eye map and I'll see if I can filter by goat eyes. And,
well, I should just say this: like actually putting them in is crazy. Like because you have to fill them up, and then you take this plunger and you basically put them on your eyes.
Whoa!
Just the reaction is like when you first see it. I've been wearing hard contacts for a long time, so I'm very familiar with this. But this was even for me, and it was like, whoa! So if you show someone like your children or something, they're just like, "You're an alien."
Nope.
This is like, they're like, this is like, why would you do that? I'm like, listen. Because when you put things in and you can see miracles. So don't be so I don't know, hopefully don't be scared off. Try them. Do it.
Sounds good.
Well, my recommendation this week, as I've said here and there, both my kids said they wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, and we've gotten close. But to work on that, I've been relearning how to draw various characteristics of Dungeons and Dragons fantasy maps, and I always start with mountains because you're always going to have mountains. So I started. I found a good. I think he's an Australian guy, if I've listened to his accent well enough, but. It's I forget his name, but he's got this series of how to draw things like how to draw maps and trees, how to draw mountains. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes at softwaredefinedtalk.com/427. And in each episode, he'll be like, here's 4 ways to draw a forest and trees for your Dungeons and Dragons map. Here's 4 ways to draw mountains. And it's nice. Like, you see a final drawing and you're like, how the fuck did that happen? And what you learn over time is like, basically a lot of layers of things and thinking things out, but there's a few tricks you can learn how to do that. So check out that playlist. That'll be linked in the show list. Draw some fantasy mountains for your D&D nerding out. I started doing some of that stuff, and Kim is just always like, you're such a cute little nerd. She loves it. Well, speaking of things that are loved, you've listened to another episode of Software Defined Talk. If you want to get the show notes for this episode, including help on how to draw a forest, pine forest, detailed forest, other forest, a glade in the forest, you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/427. You should also join the Slack group that we have. There's lots of conversation in there. I didn't put a link to how to draw a forest, unfortunately. Maybe I should have. But usually you can get all sorts of information in the Slack channel if you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com and look it up. And with that, we'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
All right. Good as always. Maybe we should make the after show because I know Matt has to go. We're going to review Matt's performance on this episode. Coté, we should make sure we should give everyone. I think I can recall everything Matt did on this episode. In fact, we're giving. I mean, a lot.
Right, I to go. I'm looking forward to hearing my failings.
MVP, but the rating is going to be low this week. The rating is going to be low.
Oh, bye.
For those that missed it, we'll make a quick. For those that missed it, literally. Almost instantaneously, we started the show, and Matt Ray poured an entire, sounds like apple juice into his keyboard, where he then spent. I know you can see it on the screen. You kind of see him frantically leaving and coming back, trying to dry the keyboard off. I think he did. I mean, he did at least mute the that was during that period, but it was very frantic. That, and then I think he had his cell phone go off. We'll try to edit
right
that
at the end there. Yeah,
and then
little Arizona on it, if I recall.
He was just randomly eating. So that's the kind of professionalism Matt Ray brought to this episode. I just hope everybody can really understand it. And if you'd like to see that live and in person, what you should do is you should go watch the stream where you just literally see Matt working. So maybe next week he can have a power saw, just be building.
Oh, that not even a power saw, just like a old.
He's like, hold on, guys, hold on. I gotta, this little wood thing I'm making. I just gotta get this done right now. So
I gotta do some joining.
It was the absolute Matt Ray special, if you will, episode this week.
I think his venerable maturity in podcasting is just it's reached the exquisite stage where it's just like, you just walk in and it's the Dalai Lama and he's eating a piece of pizza and he's like, I mean, what do you want? I'm done here. Pizza's good. That I read a fun interview with him, the Dalai Lama, sometime. Yeah, and I think someone asked him. I should go find this because it was great. It was like little humor. They were like, well, what do you eat? And like, I saw you eating like a pepperoni pizza. Aren't you like vegetarian? And he's like, yeah, but pepperoni pizza is really good. Or, it's something like that where it's just like, yeah, sometimes I do that. I don't know. What do you want from me? I'm enlightened.
What do you want from me? Enlightenment. All right. Well, listen, I think we had a few people following us this week and watching on the stream. We always appreciate it. Michael's on for sure, and some other people. And of course, Coté already mentioned it. Love to hear people during the week. Love to hear your feedback. So join us in Slack. You can direct message us or find your favorite channel. Let us know what we're doing right. And more importantly, let us know what Matt Ray's doing wrong, because that's what we're here for. Matt Ray critiques. All right. And with that, we will talk next week, probably around this time. If Matt Ray can be trouble. If Matt Ray gets a new keyboard,
spill his juice.
We'll see. All right. Goodbye.